Just like here in the previous lecture, we accessed Android-specific configuration by accessing xamarin.forms.platform-configuration.android-specific. We of course can do the same thing for iOS. So let me go ahead and show you one thing that is specific to iOS that we can do here on the Expenses app. I am going to navigate over to the new expense page. And I want you to notice that when I run this, and let me just go ahead and show you real quick, the table view that we have goes all the way to the bottom. I don't know if you can see this, but these lines that divide the different cells inside of the table view go behind this new control that is on the iPhone X and XS. That means that if there was content right there, it would in some scenarios be right below this control to go to home on the iPhone X and XS that don't have the home button anymore. While it's not that bad, and at least in this scenario, it really doesn't bother us, we may see those scenarios where this is not the best experience for the user. And in fact, I already showed you in one of the other applications how to solve this, but we solved that through C#. What I want to show you is how with something very similar to what we have here on Android, we can do the same for iOS. In fact, let me go ahead and copy this whole namespace definition that we had for Android and create one very similar one over here in the new expenses page. Of course, this is going to be iOS because instead of accessing the Android specific in platform configuration, I will access iOS specific. And having iOS specific, we now have access to that iOS namespace, which is to the page going to be able to set to use a safe area. So again, similar to what we have over here, accessing the tabbed page, which comes from Android specific, not the same tabbed page, and set the toolbar placement. Over here, we can access page, which is not the same page from which content page inherits, but it will allow us to this same page that is coming from iOS specific, which eventually will be set to the content page to use safe area and set this to true. And now let me go ahead and run this and show you the small change that happened here. Now, if I navigate over to this new expense page, notice at the bottom, we now don't see the lines from this table view behind this small control. We see how there is a safe area in here that has been set. So this is always freed up. In fact, let me go ahead and move this simulator to be horizontal. Now it's easier to notice that the controls are not going to be behind this small gesture control on the iPhone X and iPhone XS. This is going to be very important in many scenarios, and setting this to safe area is not only going to work for vertical with this gesture control, but in horizontal in the mode that we are, notice to the left and to the right. The safe area is also going to set this spacing where the screen starts to curve. This means that suddenly, for example, with the notch that is here on the iPhone X and XS, the controls are not going to be hidden, which is even more important in this particular scenario. And to the right as well. In case we had the other orientation, so let me go ahead and change that. Now it's going to be to the right. The notch is going to be to the right. And because we set this to use a safe area, it's not really going to be any problem to our users with any elements being hidden. And so let me go ahead and, I didn't show you that, but let me go ahead and set this to false for a second and run this one more time to show you how it would look if we didn't set this use safe area. So we have the application here up and running, and definitely we have to set the use safe area to this other page in here, because notice here the controls are being hidden. And if we navigate over to this other page, we see that indeed the controls are behind the notch. And you can see, by the way, that the list view is already, well, it doesn't work as well as it maybe should, because there are some lines being hidden by the notch, but at least these disclosure indicators are not hidden, so are well aligned to the left. But you can see how use safe area is going to be very important for our applications. So let me go ahead and set this to true, and in fact, I'm going to apply this to my other pages as well. So I am now going to have this in my tabbed page and in my expenses details page as well. And of course also in the expenses page and the categories page. So let me go ahead and run this and show you how this will impact the user experience. And I will keep showing you this in horizontal mode so it's easier to notice the difference. So I will keep my simulator here on the horizontal mode, and you can see immediately the experience is much better. Now we don't see the list view and these progress bars being hidden by the notch. And the same thing over here with the expense details. Well, we don't see any impact, or not a big impact in here, but if we had content to the left and to the right, we would see that it is not covered by the notch or by this control. So something, of course, iOS specific that I wanted to show you that you can also do from the shared project by doing something very similar to what we did in the previous lecture with Android, by accessing a platform configuration, in this case for iOS specific, and use the use safe area directly in the definition of the content pages and the tabbed page.